Hey guys, this is Cristina from DashStrøm, and today's masterclass is what moms must do to generate income, even if you're too scared to do it. Now, I know we're all busy, so I'm going to jump right into our class so that I can squeeze in the most amount of information in the time that we have together. So, buckle up. Are you ready? Let's go. Who this masterclass is for? It's for any mom who would like to generate income but not quite sure that she can do it. So, if you're looking to bring in income but you're afraid that you're not going to be successful, or maybe you had some experiences in your past or anything that is blocking you from generating income and bringing income for you and your family, then this class is for you. And again, buckle up because the next 40 minutes is going to be packed with information that's going to help you do just that. So, this is what we'll cover. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you the number one thing you need in order to be a successful entrepreneur, and how to stop reacting to the circumstances of your life and take control, deciding what experiences you're going to allow in and which ones you're not, and why the traditional ways that moms generate income tend to lead us mostly towards dead ends. We'll also talk about how to overcome mom guilt. We all know what that means when we're thinking of your future, and where to invest limited resources so you can get the returns that are right for you. And finally, how to do all of this right away so you can start earning income even if it all seems like a pipe dream right now. So, my promise to you is that after this presentation, you will know what you need to do in order to be a mompreneur. But first, let's check in for a second. Does this sound like you? Have you thought about starting a business only to immediately talk yourself out of it? Do you have a stack of self-help books on your nightstand, all of them half read? Do you sometimes look in the mirror and surprised by the women that you see, like unsure how it is that you got there? Are you grateful that your children are growing up, but feel empty that they don't need you as much anymore? Or do you get bored, thinking there has to be something better out there for you? Or is it the opposite? Are you overwhelmed and you're running around in circles doing things for everyone, but actually not going anywhere? Or have you worn so many hats that you no longer know which one fits? Do you feel like you could be successful if only a certain condition was fixed, if only my spouse did this, if only my children were older, if only I lived in a certain place? Are you waiting for the perfect condition in order for you to be successful? Now, the next one is a little hard, but just keep an open mind because it is true for so many of us. Do you secretly resent your family for something that you cannot do for yourself, and then feel terrible for resenting the very thing that you love the most in life? In other words, do you feel lost? Like you know that there is something that you can do. You know that you're capable of generating income, but you just don't know where to find it? Well, if that's you, I have really good news. And the good news is that none of those things are your problem. They're just symptoms. The real problem is that you haven't made what I call the shifts, and we're going to go through them right now. Once you make these shifts, worry is going to be a thing of the past because you will be able to bring in the income you need to do the things that you want for you and your family. You will have the confidence to face your fears and do what you really love in a way that serves both you and those around you. And you will have the tools to take your intention to fruition while being the woman that you decide to be. You will be able to ask for help in order for you to have your needs met. No more doing everything for anyone, for everybody else, and forgetting about your own needs. And your life, it will change dramatically because you will have the freedom to follow your dreams without sacrificing or resenting what you love the most. But let me just tell you a little bit about who I am so you know why you should listen to me. I am a mom of two boys and I'm an entrepreneur, and I have 15 years of managing my own ventures. I call myself a serial entrepreneur because I have done a lot of different things, both for profit and nonprofit. Most recently, I'm the founder of DashStrøm Run Clubs, and I have been working with moms across the country. I've spoken to hundreds of you. I've also been selected by Nestle for their Stouffer's campaign, What Are You Hungry For? And the reason there were three of us that were selected from the entire country. And the reason they selected me was because of exactly this, of my work, that of empowering women and children. So basically, I was you a few years ago, because before I was an entrepreneur, I was a mom just trying to figure out how I could generate income to make my family's life better. So, discovering the six shifts. And when I launched my last venture, the DashStrøm Run Clubs, I launched it in 2015. And in 2018, I began to expand it nationally. And in that process, like I said, I spoke with literally hundreds of women who were at least interested in starting a business and bringing income to their families. But of those women, there were so many that were perfectly capable of starting their businesses, and they were smart, and then they had everything that they needed to start the business, but they just couldn't bring themselves to do it. They just couldn't take that chance on themselves. And I realized that, sometimes you just need to get ready to be ready, and that there is a pre-step in starting any income generating activity, whether it's a run club like mine, or whether it's a home business, or even a multi-level marketing. There's a step that you have to be ready to become an entrepreneur and to step into that entrepreneurial identity. So I put together the data, and I saw some remarkable similarities between the women that I talked to. And then it hit me. So I had gone through the same process myself. And every shift that I present here, I personally had to go through to get to where I am today. And it wasn't easy. And it certainly wasn't a straight line. So that is what I'm sharing with you today, because you can benefit from my trials and errors. You don't have to bang your head against the wall as often as I did. And it's like you can skip the line and get straight to the good stuff. And the change that you create in you will impact your family, it will impact your community, and it will make the world a better place for both of us. So that is my commitment to you. So let's get to these shifts, shall we? Okay. The first shift is leave your kids out of it. Now, don't get defensive here. We all do this. I don't know a single mom that hasn't done it. That sometimes we use our kids as an excuse, and it's to get out of a boring dinner party. Oh, my babysitter didn't show, or my son got sick, or maybe we use it as an excuse of why we're late to an appointment. I had to change a diaper, or my kid had a tantrum, or whatever. We all do this, and it's rather innocuous, but beware, because we can also use our children as an excuse to stay in our comfort zone. And that sounds a little different. So that sounds like this. What if I start a business, but then my son gets sick and I have to take him to the doctor? Who's going to run my business? Or I can't go to the gym because I need to take my son to soccer. Well, my daughter needs braces, so I can't afford to invest in a business, invest in myself, or to do this or to do that. Now, don't be that mom, okay? Because you're going to find that you'll be growing a resentment along with the love you have for your family. So don't look at your children as a block between you and a goal you want to reach. Instead, look at them for inspiration. Children watch everything that we do. So let them see you be brave. Let them see you take chances. Let them see you go for what you really believe in. They're not a block. They're actually behind you, pushing you forward. They're your little motor, your propeller. So use all the skills that motherhood teaches you and empower yourself to grow. A great example of this is Maria Cecilia, who's in Mississippi. Now, she's a homeschool mom of 5. So, talk about having reasons and excuses to not do something for herself. And she felt like she never had enough time to do things. And she had a business and it was selling these beautiful bows. But she would tell me that, every time that she would get momentum in her business, something would happen. Somebody needed something, a child needed something. And finally, she decided, that she wanted to take ownership of her future. And she really did a great job of zeroing in on her passion. And she lifted herself into this really positive and directed mom. And what she told me was wonderful because she said, what the skills that I'm learning, I can pass on to my children. So she was able to not see her children as a block, but to really see her children as the reason why she created this transformation, and she started a new business and she propelled her original business forward so that she's learning skills that she's passing on to her children. So I'm really excited to see what Maria Cecilia will be able to do in the future. Okay, does that make sense? Cool. So the next shift is don't pay to work. And no, that is not a typo. And this is what happens. Moms, our kids start going to school, we have a little bit more time, and we say, well, if I work part time in the morning and I'm done by the time I pick up my kids at school, my kids won't know the difference. So I can still be the mom that takes them to after school activities. I can still do all of those things, but I'm also able to work and earn some extra income. Now, this is what happens. We are educated, resourceful women, and many of us had careers before we became moms. But the truth is that the market does not value our past experience unless we work full time. And if we work full time, then we're still spending a whole lot of money of the income that we make on paying for childcare. And we don't get paid as much as our male counterparts. So you add insult to injury. And, we get these jobs. It's a part time job, but we're so excited and we are resourceful and we are capable. And it's almost like we're so grateful that we're using our brains and doing something different. We're excited to get back into the working thing that we end up taking more and more responsibilities. But our pay stays at that hourly rate, which is not going to be high in the first place. And I can't tell you how many moms put their kids to sleep and then go and finish up something for their part time job that pays them an hourly wage. So the truth is that working part time for somebody else is rarely a good investment of your time and of your talent. So instead, focus on an opportunity that you can work for yourself. Be an entrepreneur because you can set your schedule, you keep the profit in your pocket, you set how much work you want to do and how much you want to get paid. If the market doesn't value your experience, for goodness sakes, don't give it to them for free. Get paid what you're worth. And so use your experience to empower yourself. So Tiffany is in Nebraska and she's a mom of 4 boys. And I met her about 6 months ago. And when I met her, she was telling me that she had been a blogger and a teacher and a fitness instructor, and she was getting her Pilates certification. So she wasn't working part time in an office, but she was doing all these little things part time, trying to generate income for her family. And so we labeled her strategy as a cross your fingers and hope it all goes well strategy to generating income. And it did not work. So what Tiffany did, it was shift all of that to become an entrepreneur, but to put everything within an umbrella and have a fitness business where she can still use her Pilates certification and she can still be a group fitness instructor, but her mindset changed to one of an entrepreneur, where now she sees her work as a business, as a company, and she's being very successful in working in that area. The third shift is one that we should all be really relieved about, and it's that past mistakes don't indicate that you will be a future failure. Okay? We have all made mistakes. Like no mom has a clean slate, especially if, on the parenting side, we all come with baggage. But just because we have that baggage doesn't mean that we have to take it with us wherever we go. Just because we've had maybe a business in the past that didn't come to fruition, or you tried being a blogger and it didn't quite work out the way you expected it, or you joined an MLM and it wasn't quite what you thought, just because you've tried things in the past and they didn't quite work the way you wanted to, doesn't mean that you will never be a successful entrepreneur. It just doesn't. Instead, think like the great inventors and see failure as a learning tool, because that's what it is. And I put failure in quotations because failure to me is only if you give up. That's the only time that you absolutely fail. Everything else, you're just learning. Mistakes, losses, they're just a way that we learn a lesson, and it shouldn't stop you from moving forward. And the best case study for this, in my opinion, is Thomas Edison. He invented the light bulb and it took him a long time to do it. So he says, that he didn't fail 1,000 times in figuring out how to create the light bulb. He just found 1,000 ways that it wasn't going to work. That's the attitude that you need to have. Past mistakes aren't indication that you're not going to get it right in the future. You need to learn from those experiences. You can see what you did what you did then that you could be doing differently now, but they're by no means a failure and by no means an indicator. Okay, so moving on to our fourth shift, which is use the secret weapon. And, this is silly because it's so darn obvious, and yet we miss this step. I've missed this step, and we miss the step over and over and over again. And really, the secret weapon is our mindset. Mindset, 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 mindset. I don't care how spectacular a business proposition is, if you don't have the mindset to do it, it will not work. Period. The end. So the secret weapon is that you have to build your mindset. So this is how it usually goes. You have an idea to generate income for your family, right? And that can be like you sell stuff on eBay, or you become a realtor, you join a multi-level marketing, you become a social media expert or a virtual assistant. People have even, you start a daycare in your house, whatever business that you dream of. And you're like, well, this sounds like a really good idea. I can do that. And then you go and you invest money. So you host parties, you buy inventory, you travel to conferences, or you attend networking events, or you may even pay membership fees, and you invest in creating that business. And then you hope for the best. You think that, well, I hope it works. But the truth is that there is a step before all of this, and that step is the mindset. Without the mindset, you will not be successful. So I'm going to give you some case studies of a few women that we've worked with recently and where they are in their journeys. So Tanya is a teacher, and she has some ideas of things that she would like to do so that she wouldn't be tied to her teaching position. But she's not ready yet, by her own admittance. So she's working on her mindset to build her entrepreneurial muscle, to have not necessarily her business idea or a business plan or all of that figured out. That's not what she was about. She was with us because she wanted to become an entrepreneur, learn to think like an entrepreneur, be strong enough to take the risks and to have the stomach to deal with uncertainty and things like that. So Tanya is in the pre-state of becoming an entrepreneur, whereas Jen is already an entrepreneur. She already invested in a business and she's starting that business, but she's working on her mindset so that she can build her confidence. She leaped into entrepreneurship, but she knows that if she doesn't have the support in her mindset, then chances are she's not going to be as successful as she can be. So she's working on her mindset as she begins her entrepreneurial journey. Whereas Suzanne is with us for a completely different reason. She's already a successful entrepreneur, but she's working on her mindset to up level her business. So she sees the correlation that if she up levels her mindset, then she can take her business as well to the next level. And she's thinking of opening an entire new branch of what she does, but that takes guts. And she's working, so she's building her mindset to be able to do that. And it's very exciting to see her. And it's also super exciting to see the other women that are kind of getting ready to be ready to take that leap to generate income, to have the identity of an entrepreneur. So the new way of doing things, it's not have an idea, invest money and go for it. That is make the decision, become an entrepreneur, own that identity, work on that first. And then whatever idea you have or whatever program you join, then you'll be able to invest with confidence that you will be successful because you already became that person. You already became a successful entrepreneur before you even are out there investing in a program. Okay? Does that make sense? Cool. So let's just recap so far because I feel like I talk and talk and talk and talk. So let's make sure everybody's on the same page. So far, we've shifted from using your kids as an excuse to looking at them as a reason. So they're not an excuse for why you don't do something. They're really the reason why you do it. We shifted from working part-time to working for yourself. From seeing our past failures as limiting to viewing them as lessons and stepping stones on our way to doing something bigger and better. And we shifted to using the secret weapon, which is mindset, mindset, mindset. Again, it's all about owning that identity as an entrepreneur. And for me too, like I tried all kinds of things and I've made all kinds of mistakes, but until I own that identity as an entrepreneur, that's really when things started clicking. So, and the next shift is don't live someone else's dream. And this also has to do with that identity of an entrepreneur, right? And basically, people will have an idea or will have an expectation of you, whether it's your family or your culture or your environment. Like there is an expectation of who you should be and what you should do. And either consciously or subconsciously, if you let it, that will direct your life. So other people's opinions will direct what you do with your life. And at some point, there's going to be a breaking point. At some point there is like this gap between who you are and what you were meant to be in the first place. And I guarantee you that gap will come sooner or later. You will feel it. Maybe not today, but tomorrow or, at some point you will feel is like, wait a minute, how did I end up here? This is not what I had envisioned for myself. This is not what my passion was. This is not where I was going, but it was because you followed somebody else's dream, right? So if you listen to them, you're going to turn your back on yourself. So instead of listening to what other people think that you should or shouldn't do, build your mindset, your confidence, and the resilience that you can be you. Don't worry about hurting someone else's feeling because if sooner or later that desire for you to be who you wanted to be in the first place is going to take over. It's a guarantee. It's human nature. So if you follow your own path from the get-go, even if that causes friction now, it still is going to be the easier, softer way than if you do what other people expect you to do and aren't true to yourself. So the case study for this is actually me, and it's a funny story. I was very lucky that I went to a great college. I went to Wellesley College in Massachusetts. And in my sophomore year, I told my parents that I was going to be a teacher. And I always wanted to be a teacher. When I was a little girl, some some girls play house, but I was always playing teacher. It's what I love to do. I've always loved to do it. And my parents told me that if I wanted to be a teacher, then I should drop out and go to a cheaper school, or just get a teaching certificate, because they weren't going to pay for college for me to be a teacher. And I was young, and at that time, I believed them, and I didn't rebel or anything. And I kind of gave up my dream, and I became an investment banker instead. And from investment banking, I went to high tech in Silicon Valley, and I did all of these things that really weren't what I wanted. And eventually, that all came crashing down. And in my 30s, I had a massive identity crisis, or maybe in my late 20s. And it was really bad. It was really bad. And I almost didn't make it alive from that situation. And I'm not exaggerating, but I was so far off my path, of what I desired to be, of what I always thought I wanted to do, that it was a very difficult time. So that's what I'm saying. And I've heard this over and over again. That time will come. And maybe your gap isn't going to be as dramatic as my gap was, but it will be there. So, much to my parents' dismay, I ended up leaving corporate world and doing nonprofit work as a teacher. And I became a teacher, and I became a preschool teacher to boot. But so they say that I went from Wall Street to Sesame Street. But that is what makes me happy. Giving these master classes, teaching people, empowering people. That's who I am. That's who I always was. And I should have listened to my inner self a long time ago, but I didn't know any better. And so you can learn from that experience. You can learn from my experience, and not to follow somebody else's dream. Follow your own path. And the last shift is probably the most important one in all of this. All right. And it's invest in mentoring. So, do you want to be an entrepreneur and create a strong entrepreneurial mindset? You could, in theory, do it by yourself. I mean, I gave you a blueprint right here. Those are the things that you need to do, and you can go and buy a bunch of self-help books, and read about the topic, and watch blogs, or watch YouTube, that kind of stuff. But I don't suggest that you do that, because when you are alone, maybe you start out with a really strong intention, but over time, life gets in the way. Okay, reality gets in the way, and your enthusiasm can wane as the reality hits you. And the truth is that your mind, by itself, when you're outside of your comfort zone, your mind is a really dangerous neighborhood to walk around alone. You will talk yourself out of so many things because you don't have the accountability and you don't have the support. So, generating income, starting a company, becoming an entrepreneur, whatever it is, like, those are things that take action. It takes guts, it takes that identity as an entrepreneur. So, if you are leaving your comfort zone to grow into this new identity, doing it alone is almost, I'm not going to say impossible, because I don't believe anything is impossible, but boy, the odds are stacked against you. So instead, invest in mentoring, invest in a coach, because getting your mindset strong and healthy to become an entrepreneur, it really does take more than a self-help book. Now, I personally, just in the last few years, I've personally invested over $30,000 on training and mentoring. And every time that I spent any money on this, it was a really big decision, because there were so many other things that I thought that my investment could be, would make more sense. But the truth is that every time that I spent that money, it was the best decision, because I needed that mentoring, and everybody needs that mentoring to bring out the best in them. Alone, it's very difficult to change who you are and to grow into a new identity, but you need that accountability and you need the support. So don't go at it alone. Find the best mentor out there, like the person that you can relate to, or that when they speak, you realize that you really have a connection with. Find whoever that person is for you and spend whatever amount it takes to work with them, because that is probably the one thing that will ensure your success more than any of the other shifts. Okay, so today I promised you a couple of things. I told you that I was going to teach you the number one thing that you need in order to be a successful entrepreneur, and how to stop reacting to the circumstances of your life and take control, deciding what experiences you will and will not allow in, and why the traditional ways that moms generate income tend to lead us into dead ends. I also promised you that I was going to tell you how to overcome mom guilt when you're thinking about your own future, and where to invest the limited resources you have in order to get the returns that are right for you, and that returns that the best returns possible, and how to do all of this right away so that you can start earning income even if it still seems like a pipe dream. And the way you do those things is through these shifts, right? This is what you need to do to win. You need to stop hiding behind your kids. They are not the reason why you can't do something. Use them as inspiration instead. Don't work for less than what you're really worth. Work for yourself instead. You keep the profits. You keep the fruit of your labor. Remember that your past mistakes are not indicators of your future failures. Just because things maybe didn't go as planned in the past, by no means signifies that in the future they're not going to go your way. So don't let mistakes of the past be what stops you from being successful in the future. Finally, use the secret weapon: mindset, and just in case it wasn't clear already, mindset. Grow into that identity of the woman, of the mom who invests in herself, who's serious about generating income, who grows into the space of entrepreneurship. That comes first. Use that secret weapon and don't live someone else's dream. Getting into that identity is going to make it impossible for you to live someone else's dream. So those two things kind of come together. But live your life. You only have one of them. So go do what you were meant to do in this world. And finally, invest in mentorship. This is a amazing journey. You know, when you can have an idea and then bring it, out of nothing, bring it to fruition and create something and affect hundreds of people, it is the most incredible feeling in the world. It's the most empowering feeling in the world. But you're not going to be able to be that successful and to impact as many people and to generate as much income as you want on your own. You need somebody to guide you. So find that mentor and do whatever it takes to work with them. So now you have a choice, right? You can take the information that I gave you, or you can forget all about it. You can keep wanting to bring supplemental income to your family, or you can continue to be stuck and not know how to financially help out. Or you can work on your empowerment and on your new identity, and you can work on your entrepreneurial muscle and be the strongest version of yourself. Or you can continue to invest in everybody else except for you. You can complain about how life and business and and everything is just, the odds are stacked against you, or you can use the system and make your dreams come true. So if you want to have a bulletproof mindset to start your business or to be more successful in your entrepreneur venture, then here's what I can do for you. I have set aside some time over the next 48 hours to speak to you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your life, and starting today. So whatever your biggest fears and challenges are, chances are I have already seen them and I know how to overcome them. Like I said, I've talked to hundreds of people. So in this session, I will work with you and we'll craft together a step-by-step game plan so that you can hit your goals for this year. Whether that is starting a business or it is advancing in your business, or maybe it's that pre-step, is that getting ready to be ready, getting ready to even think of the possibility of being a business owner, of being an entrepreneur. And the cost of this conversation is absolutely free, but it's not for everybody. Okay, so think of scheduling a call if you don't meet these criteria. And the first thing is that you must have a desire to change and grow. You must want to change more than to stay where you are. Like if you are comfortable and you're like, maybe this is not for you. Okay, you must want to kind of shed the layer of who you are today and walk into and grow from there. You must be open to break through your limiting beliefs. We all have one form or another of limiting beliefs, things that stop us from being the best version of ourselves. And those things can be so entrenched in us that we sometimes feel like we need to defend things that don't allow us to be who we are meant to be and to grow into everything that we can be. So you must be open to break through those. Okay, that's very important. And you must be willing to try new things and listen to new ideas because you cannot solve the problem with the problem. So if your mindset has stopped you from becoming an entrepreneur, from starting your business, or from growing into that identity, you can't um, you can't fix that problem. You can't grow out of that identity with what created that identity in the first place. You can't solve the problem with the problem. So you have to be willing to try new things and listen to new ideas and be open to possibilities that maybe you can't even think of right now. So if that's you, if you're open and you're willing to change and you fit this description, then book a session now. Let's talk about it, okay? And let's get a game plan going for you. Now, you might ask, well, why am I doing this if it's for free? And the truth is that I love to give back, and you can search me and Google me or, and find out research about me, but you will see that giving back is the common thread in my rather uncommon life. And I have spoken to so many women who are on the cusp of transforming their lives, and they just could not do it. They just could not take that step. And I saw it so often. I knew I just had to do something about it. And this is my way of doing something about it. And I know that you might want some help in getting your mindset ready to start your business or your identity as an entrepreneur a little stronger. And if that's the case, then we can talk about it and we can see if we're a good fit for each other. It has to be a good fit for both of us. And the way that we'll know is by having this conversation. So if you would like to chat, then go to dashstrøm.com/apply. And spaces are super limited because I have a couple of programs running simultaneously. So please go and apply today. And after this link will take you to my schedule. And once you book an appointment, it's going to take you to a little questionnaire. It has like 4 questions, but please take the time to answer them so that I get to know you a little bit better and I know kind of where you're coming from when we actually do get on the phone and have our conversation. Okay, so I hope that you learned a ton during this time. And, if you are those things that we talked about of who this presentation is for and what kind of person will be successful in this transformation, and you want to talk, I so look forward to hearing from you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.